Welcome into Pressbox Live. I'm Stan the Fan Charles of Pressbox and PressBoxOnline.com. And with me tonight is the old left-hander, Ross Grimsley. Ross, how are you?
Everything's great, Stan. How are you doing?
All right.
You
Please
feeling
say
better?
hello to your lovely wife, Bird, for me,
I
okay?
will.
All
Yes, I
right.
will.
In just a minute, that guy wearing that interesting baseball hat, his name is Lee Lowenfish, and he's the author of a new book, Baseball's Endangered Species Inside the Craft of Scouting by Those Who Lived It. But first, we got to pay a couple bills, and then we'll talk to my friend and former professor, Lee Lowenfish, in just about 45 seconds. First, need to tell you that AJ Michaels is now a sponsor of our Zooms. Expert and award-winning AJ Michaels Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Home Part Performance will improve your home's energy efficiency and comfort levels. The AC season is coming up fast, and boy, does it ever. New rebates and discounts are available. More at ajmichaels.com. And the folks that have been with us since the beginning of these Zooms, and the folks that have been with me for close to 30 years sponsoring whatever I do, the Costas Inn, they wanted to let you know that they're still there, 52 years going strong at 4100 North Point Boulevard. Crab season is just around the corner. Of course, there's a lot of Marylanders that say crab season is any time of the year, but the Costas Inn has great crabs. Order ahead, call them or reach them through the website, costasin.com, and you can order online, pay for it online. If you prefer to take them home, you can take them home. Steam crab season is upon us. Don't forget the Costas Inn, 410-477-1975. As promised, Lee Lowenfish is with us. And Lee, I've known you for, I think, going on just about 50 years. You were my American Studies professor at UMBC. Since I've known you, and you fill in the other pieces, you've written The Imperfect Diamond, the first book about baseball's labor issues, and that was a tremendous seller. You wrote The Art of Pitching. I can't remember the book you wrote about the baseball trainers, but you
The
did
professional
one,
baseball trainers fitness book.
the fitness book. And I'm sure I'm missing one, but then your big book was Branch Rickey, Baseball's Ferocious
Right.
Gentleman. And now you have Baseball's Endangered Species Inside the Craft of Scouting by Those Who Loved It, lived it, and they probably did love it. But I got to ask you a question. Did your research, because I know you researched tremendously on your books, which is why I've never written a book. Did your research on Branch Rickey lead invariably into this next book about scouting?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I got to know some of Ricky's family and his grandson, who was named after Charlie Barrett. I mean, the grandson is used to be the president of the Pacific Coast League, retired now in Savannah, Georgia. His name is Branch Barrett Rickey, and Charlie Barrett was Branch Rickey's first scout. They met when they were both playing in the South Texas League in 1904. And after a prologue in this new book where I talk about Bertie Tebbetts, who wanted to get scouts into the Hall of Fame when he was on the Veterans Committee, but he couldn't do it. And they still haven't done it. But the next chapter is about Barrett and how he and Rickey came to perfect the farm system. So, yes, this is definitely an outgrowth. Also, before I did the Rickey book, I met a lot of scouts in New York. I mean, I've been following baseball, well, it's almost since the cradle. And I was a New York Giant fan because of my father. And he was a dermatologist. He had umpires as patients, Babe Pinelli, the one I knew, and Bill Stewart, the one I didn't know, but Stewart was also a great hockey person. My father won a compensation suit for Bill Stewart in 1952 because Leo DeRocher spiked him and it got infected and he missed some games. But I met a few years later Billy Blitzer at a college game, and we introduced. He was scouting for the Cubs, and I said, "Are you related to Ida Blitzer, who was a patient at my father's?" And he said, "Are you related to Dr. Lowenfish?" "Yeah, that's my father." Well, he introduced me to Herb Stein, who signed Carew before the draft, Frank Viola, Gene Larkin after the draft. Gene Larkin won the World Series for the
Yep.
Twins, and he's a Columbia
1987, I
boy.
think, or 91.
87, absolutely.
87, yeah.
And so they introduced me to Ralph DeLulo, who was Billy Blitzer's mentor, and on this went. And they honored me with a service to the community award about 13 years ago. And I've always wanted to do this. And finally, it was time to do it. And this may look like a mess behind me, but somehow I managed to get this book done pretty much because it was done mainly during the pandemic. And I didn't have a retreat. And I'm happy that we have it out, and it's got Tom Greenway on the cover. And to give you a sense of how the scouting story is woven into all of America, Greenway is shown in a Dodgers shirt because he was with the Dodgers, actually scouted Jackie Robinson for the Monarchs and gave a big heads up. He also signed for the Dodgers Rex Borney, who Baltimore people will, of course, remember as the great PA announcer. And
would have been in the Hall of Fame if the strike zone was high and outside.
Absolutely. And I remember I talked to him, and he couldn't stop talking about his Brooklyn Dodger years.
Yeah.
And Greenway also signed a pitcher who had a good career and became a good coach. And he had the greatest name. There are a lot of great names in baseball history, but it's hard to match Calvin Coolidge, Julius Caesar, Tuskahoma, McLish. Tom Greenway also signed him for the Dodgers. Then he becomes the man who signed Mantle. Before that, Hank Bauer. And so, and interestingly, Greenway kept getting a stipend from the Yankees even through the bad years because CBS took over and they didn't know what they were doing, frankly. But he still stayed on with them until he passed. So it's a very interesting story that I've dug out with a lot of research because scouts really don't like talking about themselves. In fact, Paul Critchell, the scout who signed Lou Gehrig, and it's a 100-year anniversary coming up this month. When he gets talked to the press, he basically said, whenever the scouts are told it's a organizational decision, and we don't want you talking about yourself too much. But I was able to dig stuff out, and it's in the book, and so I hope it's a good another feather in my cap.
I'm sure.
Which, by the way, this is a Hickory Crawdads cap. And I'm wearing a Delmarva Shorebirds sweatshirt because, I'm Oriole black and
all the
orange.
way. All right.
Since
Hey,
1970.
before I turn you over to Ross for a couple of questions. So, I know the tenor of the book. I haven't read it yet, and I look forward to reading it. But is the thrust of it that this new analytical age that we're in now has made the younger generation very sort of, those people don't, the older and wiser guys that was their way of doing things. We're better. Is that what the modern era believes right now?
Yeah, I'm a historian by training, and one of my great credos is impartiality is a dream, but honesty is a duty. And also respect your elders. And another great adage from the scouts is God gave you 2 eyes, 2 ears, and 1 mouth. Right. And the more you listen to those who've been through the mill, the better you are. And I'm afraid a lot of the people getting jobs, I mean, about late last century, there were maybe 2% of all baseball personnel in the field, scouts, coaches, player developers, were from the Ivy League. Now it's close to half. And it's not like you can't learn from these people. Branch Rickey, I quote in the book, was asked, how much of baseball do you know? And he said, I don't think I know 55%. And now you have these guys coming out of, the think tanks, and they think they know it all. And that really irritates me. Not only that, the brand of baseball is irritating me. I mean, so the book is not a screed. I mean, I'm a storyteller.
We'll get into that as we we'll get into that as we talk. Ross, I know you've got I know you're itching to talk
Oh,
about
yeah.
this topic.
Does he sound like me talking?
Yes, it does a
Some of the
little
things
bit.
I say. Lee, thanks for being with us. I know we spoke a while back. I had a great time talking to you. Thanks for being on with us. I think this is great. Really, I'm amazed at the stuff you've written and what it's about. It really is interesting. But I mean, you hit the nail right on the head. You know, my last year of coaching, I coached 31 years. Last year was 2014. I mean, the stuff had started before that. With the analytical data and the people. One of the things that I had heard is one scout said, you can't teach a pitcher how to throw strikes. And I'm going, really? You look at Randy Johns. I mean, we can name them and go back and talk about it. And the way they have changed the language of the game with a lot of the same stuff, and they just renamed it to set for whatever reason. And it's really, you know, a head scratcher, you know, and I know, did you know this before you wrote the book, or did you learn this as you went along? Did you have an idea of what was going on?
Yeah, I did. And again, because I'm an educator and a scholar by kind of disposition, so you always want to learn. But you know the expression of TMI, you know, too much information. And you know, I coined the joke, you could certainly use it, about what happens when you cross a sabermetician with a mafioso. The answer, if you get a statistic you don't understand. I mean, I was just reading this morning on Mazin.com about the Mountcastle is hitting 600 on pitches inside. Hayes is hitting 500 on pitches down the middle. Well, it seems to me that's fine, but you know, the pitcher's job's to get you out. And until you learn to hit the ones you're hitting 100 on,
Right.
we have
Right,
issues.
exactly.
But I'm not getting ballistic
Yeah.
this early. I mean, God help us. Anyone making a judgment, you know, but it's barely April, okay?
Right.
But again, and you see, I'll tell you what gets me is that you see, and you saw it in the World Series. You see guys in the World Series dugout. They're looking at their iPads. They're not looking at their competitor, you know?
Right.
I mean,
Yep.
and there are always signals that, and the more experience you have, the more you know what the signals are from your opponent. So again, I'm not against this stuff, but when it takes over, it's kind of the part of the robotization of life, and it's not just happening in baseball. It's
It's
happening
not
in other
just in
sports.
baseball. It's when you go out to get a cup of coffee, you come face to face with it at Dunkin' Donuts. Ross, go ahead.
Yeah, you know, Lee, over the years they've eliminated baseball people in the coaching and the managing ranks, and obviously they've gotten rid of a lot of your scouting people over the years. And what's happened, and I see, I've noticed that they're starting to hire some of these people back. They're getting more scouts involved. You know, I think the Yankees, they've kept their scouting department basically.
And I think Boston and I think Houston too.
Right. Well, Houston got rid of a lot of guys. Now
Yeah,
they're
but they
getting them
brought
back.
him back.
Exactly right. So, I mean, tell us a little bit how important scouts are to a major league franchise. I mean,
Well,
I gotta. I mean, I understand that, I know it, but tell our audience and you know how important they are to a franchise.
Well, makeup is the key. You know, there are 5 tools. Branch Rickey probably coined this too: hit with power, run, field, and throw. But the sixth tool is makeup, and because the game is designed to beat you up. And I'm quoting a high school coach now who played catcher for my alma mater, the Columbia, which has a great program now. And and the thing is that another scout told me that you got to scout from the moment they walk out of the bus. You got to you have to see how they deal with the failure that is a constant in the game. I remember when I talked to Dick Grote for the Ricky book, because he was signed by Ricky, and Ricky basically forced him to give up basketball because he just felt that there was too much of an injury risk. Grote said basketball was fun. Baseball does things to the coconut, and that's the nature of the game. And I mean, if and so that's why scouts are so important, and it's being lost. The draft's been cut to 20 rounds, and I do believe that Manfred has the right to cut it even more. One good thing, though, they have the new agreement with a minor league union that's been recognized, is that
Yeah.
they're not going to cut any more minor league teams, because the minor leagues is where it's the apprenticeship. And the more you play there, the better, because again, you learn how to lose, you learn how to win. Joe McIlvaine, who was GM for both the Mets and the Padres and was scouting director when Gooden came up, he said his regret was that Gooden didn't learn how to lose in the minors. He just zipped right through, and Davey Johnson was glad to have him after a year in the minors. When he started to lose, it was in the majors, and then he was in New York and got involved with the wrong people. This is where makeup and the scouts come in, and that's why
Right.
they're so important.
But
Lee,
what would happen? What would happen? As they've cut the minor league teams, they've shortened the rounds of draft. I was looking up. Albert Pujols was 402nd player drafted. Trevor Hoffman, 288. Jim Tomey, 333. Mike Messina, 272. Oral Hershiser, 440. I mean, these guys. These guys never would have been looked at, in today.
I know. Yeah, I know. Well, that's very good point. But the thing is that, as Gary Nichols, who was a scout for 50 years and loves history, and he's in on my book, the nature of baseball is disappointment. I mean, because you don't know. The hardest thing is projection. I mean, it's so hard to know at age 18 what somebody's going to be at age 22. But the good scouts can look at arm action. I mean, we tell the story of Lou Cadello scouting Mike Schmidt from a tree or from a roof to get the different angles. And I mean, he created a shed, a wall for training defense. And one of the happiest things I am in this book is that that's gotten handed down. I mean, even if the scouts get laid off, they've handed down the wisdom, and this wisdom, Ray Fagner took it with it to Boston, and other people wanting to see how important defense is as well as hitting. So yeah, it's an uphill struggle right now, but I'm glad we're talking about it, and I hope the more people listen will understand.
Yeah, really.
And one other thing
Lee,
about Pujols, Jackie Bowen, the grandson of Rex Bowen, who was with Ricky all the way through, told me a really interesting story about Pujols. They knew he was a talent, but he was also a citizen of Dominican Republic, and they really weren't sure a lot about where he was coming from. So that was part of the reason that he slipped through.
Go ahead, Stan.
Lee, the book, I want you to hold the book up. We don't have fancy graphics packages where we can put it up. The book is called, hold it up so we can see. You got the.
Oh, I have it here. I mean.
No, you got the title covered up with your fingers.
Oh, all right.
Baseball.
So, I'm showing. All right. There's
baseball's endangered species inside the craft of scouting by those who lived it. It's a Nebraska.
As you said at the beginning, they also loved it. I mean, you can't do this work.
Nebraska Press, locally here in Baltimore. Locally here, you can get the book at the Ivy Bookstore, or you can check out Amazon to buy it. It's a must read. Lee, did you talk? I know you have an affinity for the older scouts and all that, so I know you talked to a lot of them. But did you talk to some of the younger people, like the Mike Eliases of the world, to get their take on?
Yeah, I've talked to some of the younger scouts.
An objective,
yes, definitely. but not being put. And I tell people who want to go into the game that they have to learn the new computer works. I mean, this is a new world. And this person I ran into in spring training, I was mentioning before we went on the air, interned for Roland Heeman in Baltimore 30 years ago. And Roland's advice to this fellow who was a mentee of Red Murph, the scout that signed Nolan Ryan. Roland's advice 30 years ago is still very true. Learn Spanish and learn accounting. So yes, that has to be part of your toolkit, but you can't diss the people who've been here. And as one of the scouts said in a dinner I went to here in New York in January, so many of these young people will nod their heads and say yes and yes, and then and you can hear them thinking, I wish you'd go out on the road for the next 2 months and stop bothering us. So, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens, because, and that's why I love baseball, and I love the fact as an industry, it's sort of crazy. I mean, Ross knows it's 30 teams can go any which direction. In the age of the reserve clause, it all went, well, we need it to protect each other from each other. Now, a guy like Cohn and a guy like Peter O'Malley's, I guess, nephew and Seidler out there
in San Diego.
I mean, they'll spend whatever they can, but they have to rely on scouting, and the Yankees have done it too. They have extra advantages, obviously, but this book is not for Yankee haters, because I give a lot of credit to the Yankee scouts and who did find those people and took their chances on people. But how you get
no question about it.
How you spread intelligence around 30 teams is always been the question, and I don't have an answer.
So tell me what your take is on Mike Elias here. Mike was director of scouting for the Houston Astros, clearly knows the art of scouting. Does he have disdain for the older scouts? Does he, or it's just they have a different way they want to teach baseball to get the most out of players? There has to be a secret sauce to what their point of view is.
Well, their point of view is to find the next best thing. I mean, that's what Fishman actually was quoted. He's Brian Cashman's head analytic guy. I mean, I'm not going to use the term nerd myself. I mean, I've been called a nerd, and I mean, I don't like name calling. I mean, we have a chance in baseball to bring it back to the roots without ignoring the new discoveries. And I've always felt, that's why I would talk all night here if you'd let me, that the baseball field is better than any legislature that was ever built, because it's left, center, and right. But the best way is up the middle and in the gaps, and the scouts have found that kind of people. So the problem with the Eliases of the world is that I don't believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I know the man who signed Mancini, Fredrickson, is now working with the Red Sox. I don't know who signed Rodriguez and Hall. I hope they're still in the organization. And this is complicated. You don't judge a guy just by the star major leaguers he signed, but certainly that gives him cachet. But one of the Yankee scouts who signed Bill Dickey and said, you can fire me if Bill Dickey doesn't become the great player he became, he went to the Phillies with Carpenter, the DuPont heir, and before he died, he said, advice to scouts, make all your mistakes be AAA. So, I mean, it's and so, so you're asking me an important question, but the answer is very complicated. Like
Ross,
the game.
Go ahead, Ross.
No, Lee, where do you, with the scouts now, a lot of things obviously are different. Guys don't take infield anymore, but the players spend less time on the field honing their craft and more time in the weight room and doing all this other stuff and what have you. Where do you see this game going in the future?
Well, I think there'll always be baseball just because of the history. And I mean, it's baseball. I mean, Lord, it's springtime. It's, the
Nothing better.
seasons.
Nothing better.
No,
I mean,
right.
Dave Parker saying, when the leaves turn to brown, I'll be wearing the batting crown. There's always been an ego in part because it's such a special game because it's individuals within a team. And my big critique of analytics is that they don't understand what building a team is all about. AJ Hinch was quoted not long ago as saying, "Well, if you give me a number for team chemistry, I'll take a look at it." So, but where is it going in the future? I wish I had, I wish I had a crystal ball.
That crystal ball, yeah.
I mean, I'm 80 years old.
Let me follow up on that. Let me follow up, Lee.
Yeah.
Let me follow up on that question. What about the new rule changes? Do you think they are actually bringing more old fashioned baseball into play now?
Well, I think the players brought this on by themselves, and they did not support this. I think this was a fiat by Manfred, but
Right.
Al Jackson, the great Al Jackson, one of my favorite people ever in baseball, told me 30 years ago, again, the problem is hitters don't want to hit and pitchers don't want to pitch. And, all this dawdling was going on. So this was put in. It's too early to tell what impact it's going to have. I mean, the business with the bases is just it is on the absurd side, but it is providing fodder for sports writers to say, "Oh, look at all those bases the Orioles are stealing." Well, how many wins has that resulted in? I mean, W's has always been the important thing for me. So in answer to you, the cosmetic stuff, a pitcher must face 3 batters. I mean, that delayed the game. So
I don't like that.
I mean,
part
you
of it.
can't be cosmetic about it. You have to ask the question, all right, football, basketball, soccer, pickleball, they're much faster than baseball. Okay. That's it. But if you teach the game and say that anticipation is the heart of baseball and unpredictability, but as Al Jackson would want, throw the ball, damn it, and don't stand out and get TV time. And I love Adam Jones, and I think Adam Jones has got a future somewhere because he's so personable. But he was one of the no, and I'll God, Lord will happen. Lord, what will happen if they're going to put the commercial logos on the gloves? So I think they know there's a problem there. So it's too early to say what impact this is going to have. But in the long view, I think that if you embrace what baseball is and realize that it's got such a great history and is such drama, and there are 4 seasons: spring training, the regular season, September, and the playoffs. I mean, I wish it was a little smaller, but I'm not going to tilt that windmill. I'm going to tilt the windmill that you can't rely totally on the next best thing, but streamline what has made baseball great for almost 2 centuries.
Ross, go ahead. You got one
Yeah.
more, and then I got one more to wrap up.
Yeah. Lee, there's more injuries in the game now than ever before. What do you attribute that to? What do you see in that? I mean, since you did the trainer's fitness book, and I don't know how long ago that was, but I've seen this happen more and more, and with guys with actually serious injuries. So what is your take on that?
It's such an issue. You really nailed a big issue. And again, it's testosterone not controlled by common sense. And again, intelligence in organizations is not doesn't get spread equally, but you should study winning programs. Now, I'm close to the Columbia baseball program, and uh, their weight room overlooks the coach's office. And it's up there right near the field in northern Manhattan. They had some issues with pitchers earlier. So far, they've been a little inconsistent on the mound, but they haven't had the injuries. It's knowing what you can do and what you can't do. And after all, this is not football. I mean, the arm wasn't made to throw overhand.
Right.
So, and you know, you have this character, Kyle Boddy, who he was coaching for the Reds at one point not long ago.
Yeah.
He's the one that brought in Trevor Bauer, you know,
Right.
and weighted balls. Again, this is an example. Why are you reinventing the wheel? And the biggest problem is that they're doing weight. I know the old timers, even before you know, Russ, would talk
Yeah.
about they wish they had weight training back in the way back when, because it would build them up. You know, they'd lose weight during the season, but
Well,
you know,
they were farm strong.
yeah, well, that's right. You know,
They're-
absolutely. They, you
Yeah.
know, they would pick the bales, you know,
Exactly. You got it, man. You got it.
you know, and I have the great story in the book about Bill Fisher, who you probably knew. You know, Bill Fisher was a great a pitching coach and scout, and he grew up in Wisconsin in the
He was the relief pitcher, right? For
that's right.
Kansas City
And
and
he has a
Detroit.
record for the least walks in 64 innings. He gave up Mickey Mantle's one of his 500-foot homers. He grew up on a Wisconsin farm in the Depression, and the father worked odd jobs, and they grew their own food. And the story goes, Fisher was in a minor league town after the Second World War, and he sees a sign in front of a movie theater, says always cool inside. And he says, that's a strange name for a film, because well, I'm glad you're laughing, because they got a few more yucks in the
Hey,
book.
Lee,
Yeah,
I've got to ask you, first of all, hold up the book again. We
Okay.
want people to know about why you're on tonight. Baseball's Endangered Species Inside the Craft of Scouting by Those Who Lived It. It's Nebraska Press. You can buy it locally in Baltimore at the Ivy Bookstore, or you can go online and order it on Amazon.
I have a link at leelowenfish.com, and also directly from the publisher UNL. That's .edu.
All right. So I wanted my last question was, how is the book being received? I know it just came out recently, but are you getting a lot of appearance inquiries to
Yeah,
do Zooms and talk?
yeah, I did. I've been talking for since the book came out officially April 1st. I've been talking since before. I'm talking at the Yale Club tomorrow night. I had a great interview with Rob Dibble last week, and Dibble, it turns out his co-host is a fellow named Ben Darnell. And so I queried him later about if he's related to the great noir actress Linda Darnell, and it turns out they're cousins. And they both
Oh
went
my
to the
God.
same college in Angola, Indiana.
I had
So,
such
I
a
mean,
crush
you know,
on I had a crush on Linda Darnell about
well, good
45,
taste,
50 years ago.
good taste.
Yes, yes.
But
So the book is, you're getting a lot of inquiries. There's some
yeah.
buzz about
yeah.
it. All right. All right. We love having you on, Lee. I apologize to our viewers and to Lee and to Ross. We've got to figure out, we've got a little bit of a technical glitch with the freezing, but we'll muddle through it. Thank you for coming on, and we'll talk again soon, okay? And
That's
let me know
all.
when you're coming in for an Oriole game.
All right. All right.
Thanks,
Very-
Lee.
a pleasure. Stay positive, test negative. That's all you need to know nowadays.
Yeah, really.
All right. Bye now. Good night.
Want to remind everybody we've been brought to you by AJ Michaels. Good night. AJ Michaels, expert and award-winning AJ Michaels heating, air conditioning, plumbing, and home performance will improve your home's efficiency and comfort levels. AC season is coming up fast. New rebates and discounts are available now. More at ajmichaels.com. And we also thank our good friends at the Costas Inn. Crab season is upon us. Don't forget the name Costas Inn when you're looking for steamed crabs. 410-477-1975. You do need to reserve your crab order any day of the week. All right. Ross, anything you need to add?
No, we're coming in, I think, in June. So hopefully there's crabs everywhere down there because we're ready for them.
All right. We'll do a night at the Costas Inn. All right.
Absolutely, buddy.
All right,
Absolutely.
buddy. It's great talking to you, and we'll talk
Always a
a little
pleasure,
bit
man.
later in the week about what we're going to do next week. All
Gotcha.
right. I'll be back on Thursday night. Gary Stein and I will be on with the athletic director of Stevenson University, Brett Adams. He'll talk to us about the opening of the east side of the campus there. Big project where they took over a property that had been, down and out for a long time, and there's going to be a lot of improvements to Stevenson's athletic department over there on the east side of campus. Talk to him Thursday night. Good night, everybody.